do you agree on that one point, that consciousness knows, is aware that ignorance creates suffering? Or is directly related to suffering?
For consciousness, there is no suffering. Suffering is simply the love for consciousness. The love of consciousness for consciousness, when consciousness chooses to play the game of ignorance. As I said the other day, it's a bad cop that takes us to love. And so suffering is not a bad thing. It is the stick that keeps the donkey on the path. You see? Okay, but go ahead.
So you made the analogy the other day of like on a youth camp they hide the treasure and then with eventually someone finds the treasure. But it seems like the ignorance game is way more difficult if you see how many people really find the treasure, how few people find the treasure, or are on their way to find the treasure.
Yeah, because you believe it matters.
Sorry?
Because you believe it matters. So let me give a different example. You have a meadow in a public park in the winter, and there are all kinds of kids playing there. And then it gets a little colder, and some kids stop playing. But not too many. Most of them keep playing. Although they all experience the cold, but some are more sensitive to the cold and they stop playing. And among themselves they say, oh, it's cold. Let's keep playing. So the number of those who stop playing at some point and those who wait until it gets completely dark and nobody can play any longer because nobody can see anything and go home at that time, it's almost irrelevant because they were all having a good time. Even the one who were complaining that it was cold. Because they were free to stop playing. That's the point I'm making. They are free to stop playing. It is this freedom to stop playing which is the great equalizer and which removes this impression that there is some divine unfairness. You see, divine unfairness is seen from two vantage points. It's an old story, you know. It was called, in Christian terms, the judgment of God, theodikaya, the judgment of God. And the argument goes, if God is omniscient and omnipotent, he knows that there is misery or sin or bad stuff, and he is omnipotent, he lets it happen. And I think it's a very good argument. And nobody has
Yeah,
in the church,
it's a bit in
given a satisfactory answer, so you get the usual bullshit. Oh, yeah, it's a mystery, you know. Just say your prayer, believe that Jesus was born of a virgin, and it will answer your question. So, but there is another answer to this question, which is there is no unfairness really, because there is freedom. Everybody is free. And in India, they try to answer that by reincarnation. But the real answer is that real happiness is not dependent upon the circumstance, number one. And number two, that regarding real happiness, the door is open. We can go home at any moment. If we don't want to, we exercise our freedom. You see, so that's how the question of unfairness gets answered. So one possible way to ask a question about unfairness is to say, how comes such a small number of people are interested? And to which I say, for whom is it a problem? For you or for those who are not interested? For them it's not a problem. They are just plain not interested. They don't want to hear a single word about the truth.
Yeah, but the difference between...
Good luck.
The difference between your analogy of the kids playing in the park is that you said they were all having a good time. But if we look around...
But they were complaining that it was cold. And then they realized, yes, it was a good time. And they want to go back the next day. I mean, people, they play football. And they get injured, you know, and then
keep on playing.
The next day they go back, play football. Beats me, you know.
Well, my question behind the question is that a part of me says, so Joost, why do you again bother about that? So mind your own business.
No, but this question, because yes, there is an apparent contradiction by saying that consciousness is happy, all good, all merciful, or whatever, you know, and but people are suffering. But the problem is that when you say that, you see people. You don't see consciousness enjoying the game of ignorance. You see? You see cops and robbers. You see cops being killed by the robbers being put in jail by the cops, all suffering. You don't see children playing.
But I see cops, I see consciousness pretending to be cops and consciousness pretending to be robbers.
Yeah.
But almost all those who play cops and robbers believe 100% they are either a cop or a robber.
Yeah, but they choose, their freedom is that they choose to believe that way, because there is no evidence.
But in psychology they say we can start talking about choosing when there is awareness of something. And do these people really have a choice? In the reals, of course, theoretically they have a choice, but do they really have a choice?
Yeah, because consciousness has a choice. Because again, you go into, do these people have a choice? When you ask, frame the question in this way, you're cooked. Because you go back to people. There is only one consciousness who chooses to play a certain game, who creates the props to play this game, creates the avatar called a human body to play the game, and then out of this freedom also chooses, but it has given itself the freedom to question the point of view. In other words, the avatar has has a possibility to realize that in fact he is the player of the game and not the avatar. So and in fact the goal of the game, because most importantly the goal of the game is the discovery of what we are. Now, that may happen before, that may happen later, but it always happens. Because the game is designed that way.
So is it then, when I fall into the trap of seeing the world as individual people playing the game, so is that then ignorance in me
Yes.
that chooses to see it that way?
Yes,
Exactly
because,
as they
because
are.
all we have to do is to ask ourselves, how do I know that consciousness is limited, how we are not sharing it, and then to give a try to the other possibility. When you see consciousness in you and in all, playing the game, and at that moment, consciousness in you has stopped playing the game.
Okay, so
You see?
if it would come up again, then I should do the investigation on that, on me seeing the world this way.
Yes, always see the world as a dream appearing in consciousness, if you will.
In the one consciousness.
In one consciousness. And all the people you encounter in this world, they share the same consciousness. So that's a view which is very different. And this consciousness is completely safe, and it plays all the parts. And in order to enjoy itself, to celebrate itself, it plays the part of ignorance. Just as in the dream, we ignore what is going to happen in order to be surprised, because we enjoy being surprised. I mean, to be surprised is very, very important part of entire. To be surprised is extremely spiritual. There was a long time ago in France a popular song saying "Étonnez-moi Benoît." That's for the French.
Étonnez-moi Benoît.
But we want the new children. They love to be. Also, when we want to please someone, we say we are going to surprise him. We don't want to send an email to announce. Okay, gradually. At some point, I will send you a gift. And this gift then you send the second email, this gift may arrive between, and then it may contain this, and then you send a series of emails just to, not to have a shock, I mean, it's just the opposite. We enjoy the shock, right? When you give you have a young child and you bring a present to the young child, you want to see the child opening the thing and being surprised, right?
Okay, thank you.